Hey everyone, and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. I am the costume designer, Justin.
I am the charming young heartthrob who's going to take the box office by storm, Nico.
And I'm a painting, Dan.
And we're back again with another indie short double feature. So today we're going to be reviewing two indie films, and we'll start with the first one. So it's The Haunting of Pottersfield. It's written and directed by Andre Dixon, and it stars Eric Gray as Jason. We've got Laurie Katz as Mary Wallace, the ghost in the movie. We have Aaron Lee as Lee. And we also have Chad Allen Crenshaw as Grimes, this kind of evil, ghostly janitor. So, Dan, how does this movie start, though?
So we start with our guy, Jason. He wakes up in a room, and it looks like he has been knocked out or unconscious or something. So he wakes up, and his camera's on the ground. And he sees this woman in black who's banging her head against the wall. So he picks up a camera and starts taking a few pictures of it. And then she turns around and we see that her face is all sorts of messed up. It looks like she has some sort of like really demented, almost mask kind of thing.
Yeah, like a re-dead from Zelda.
Yeah, kind of actually, yeah. It's like a really dark charcoal kind of color and two sets of teeth.
It's weird.
Yeah, it's pretty creepy. So she starts to kind of walk towards him, and he runs into a closet, hoping to be safe from this ghost. Turns out that he is not, and the camera pans in on him, and she ends up coming out from behind him and grabbing him, and R.I.P. to my guy Jason.
Yeah, he pretty much gets killed off there. And then we kind of swap now to Lee. She wakes up at a table and she hears a clock whispering, like basement, basement. So she actually goes to the basement, and that's when she's confronted by Grimes. He's kind of like an evil, just kind of evil, like fucking evil looking janitor. And he's got a mop bucket. And, kind of in a real grisly, horrifying fashion, the head of the mop that he's got is actually Jason's head. And then, Grimes gives like this real kind of cruel laugh, and he attacks Lee. And we can actually see, the movie does give us a shot that, in a separate view, we see her struggling, and it's as if Grimes is not attacking her. But then we cut back and he is. After his assault, he just kind of stops and he disappears. And at this point in time, Nico, Lee's like, she's had enough, and she's trying to run out of the house, and she runs into Mary Wallace. What happens after that?
Right, so yeah, she's trying to get the fuck out of Dodge, but in her attempt to escape, she runs into our charcoal witchy friend, Mary Wallace. She then runs up the stairs and tries to hide like behind / under a bed in what appears to be like a master bedroom type deal or something. Mary Wallace then enters, and we see from Lee's perspective, she sees through under the bed and they see her feet. And then the pictures in the room start looking at her and whispering and saying, "She's hiding. I see you behind the bed." And just then we see a moment of panic from Lee, and Mary Wallace disappears from view. We are then treated to the end scene of a jump scare of Mary Wallace leaning with it and rocking with it as her body plops down into view.
And that's pretty much how it goes. So let's go ahead and talk about the visuals and audio in this one. So Dan, first off, let's start with the audio here. How do you feel about just the sound effects and the soundtrack in this movie?
I actually liked it quite a bit. The soundtrack was a lot of strings, sort of off-putting, kind of edge of your seat strings and music, atmospheric a little bit. And there was also some opera playing in the background, like the sound like on a record player or something in the house somewhere.
That was well done. I did like that.
Yeah. And then all the sound effects and stuff, the Foley and all that kind of stuff. And it was actually quite well done.
Okay. Nico, do you have any other thoughts about the audio?
I have just one specifically that at first, yes, it was on the whole very well done. Just the part where we were introduced to Grimes, I thought the sort of like the laugh was a little bit too present and distorted. That might have just been me, but it sounded a little off. The rest of it was really, really great though.
Okay. I would have to say I largely agree with Dan that I liked the audio. I thought it was cool. Now let's get to visuals. I enjoyed the design of the different kind of ghostly figures and apparitions. I liked the paintings, the paintings that were doing the whisperings. I liked the design of Mary Wallace, and I also, I thought it was cool. Dan, thoughts about that?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. The Mary Wallace was just creepy, and that was really, really well done. Grimes was pretty cool. He had all kind of busted up face. I mean, he looked like a normal person, but just sort of a almost bruised,
Demented.
kind of demented, kind of face and everything. So that was pretty cool. And the paintings were cool because they were just like regular paintings. And then right at the end, right before Lee gets caught, I guess, the painting, it shows the paintings real quick. And they're all like, I think the woman in one of the paintings had like a noose around her neck and her eyes were bulging. And the man was like, I don't know what was wrong with him, but all kind of messed up too. So I thought that was a cool change there. So I like the haunted creatures, for lack of a better word. I thought they did a good job on that.
Now, I will say this movie was, and Nico, you could probably provide a little bit of context here, but this movie was the house they were in. It was like kind of like a Victorian-esque house almost, maybe?
Yeah.
Or at least Mary Wallace's costume design. She's dressed like a lady, right?
For sure. Yeah. It's something that you would almost expect to have this setting be the place of a Jane Austen type story. And I will give the movie props for this because I didn't like that, and that's a good thing. I think there was a lot of elements of the uncanny here. Like, the wallpaper in this house is fucking atrocious. That taxidermied coyote is just plain weird. And there's a lot of little things across the whole film that really work to ramp up the sense of the uncanny and just things that are just a little bit off. So I really did appreciate how much I didn't appreciate that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I got you.
Dan, I guess we kind of already discussed Mary Wallace a little bit, but I guess one thing for me that I probably would say I had a problem with is the very end scene for the jump scare. Mary Wallace kind of plops down so you see her face under the bed. Mm-hmm. And it literally was just like, I don't know. It looked like they threw a doll down.
It
basically.
Literally does.
And I was like, all right, I thought they actually kind of let themselves down a little bit with that because I thought throughout the rest of the movie, I thought the costume, the designs, and the effects were really cool. So I thought that was an odd choice for the very end scene to do that. But outside of that, I thought it was pretty dope. So now we're going to go ahead and I guess take a quick little turn left here, and we're going to talk about some of the jump scares in this. So the just to put this in perspective, this is, like I said before, it's an independent short film, so it's roughly 8 or 9 minutes long, and I think they pack maybe like 2 or 3 really significant jump scares in this. Yeah. The first kind of really big one, Dan, you touched on, where Mary Wallace kind of ambushes Jason while he's hiding in a kind of little closet type deal. There's another one where at the very end, Mary Wallace, she kind of plops down while Lee is hiding under the bed. So I guess, how do we feel about these jump scares? Because I know oftentimes on this podcast, we sometimes deride jump scares, myself in particular, when they're being overused. Did you get that feeling from this movie at all?
I didn't. I actually enjoyed them. I'm usually not quite as far on the negative aspect of jump scares as you are, but in general, I'm not the biggest fan of them. But I actually think that they were well done in this one. The atmosphere building, I don't know. I just thought they did a really good job with that. And I didn't feel like it was sort of just another jump scare kind of thing. I thought it was well done.
Okay. Nico, your thoughts?
So I will say that just in general, I think they weren't that obtuse or awkwardly done, but I will say in particular the first one I feel was the best by far, where we have Jason in this random little closet or hallway or something, and there's a shadow behind him, and just the way that it builds just cohesively from within the shadow instead of having some sort of abrupt cut. I thought that was fantastic. I really, really dug that scene, and that's probably going to be my favorite scene, to jump ahead a little bit. But I can understand how, in particular, the last one is almost a little comical. So, I get what you mean. I really do, because it really looks like if we were playing Barotrauma and just went limp.
I will say, Dan, I actually agree with you on this one. I thought that the jump scares in this movie were well utilized, particularly when you have such a short amount of time to get across a little bit of terror. Right. I think that, having that happen to Jason in the very beginning, it set the tone really well. That was also a really cool jump scare because he was looking out and he saw her out past the closet. And then, he thought he was safe. He was like, oh, thank God. Like pretty much, he didn't say thank God, but the expression on his face and the he breathed out, and it was like, okay. So he's feeling a little more relieved. But then, like Nico said, the shadow of Mary Wallace just built up behind him and then got him. And it's that end, man, where she looks at him, like, because they see each other right before she kills him. He sees her. And the actor Eric Gray, he did such a good job in that moment, because like he really did look like holy shit. So I give him so many props for that, because that was really cool. Now let's go ahead and jump ahead to our favorite scenes. So Nico, we'll start with you. I'm sure we already know what yours is, but go ahead and restate it for the crowd.
Yeah, so novel information here, real hot take. I really like that scene that we all just described in detail. I just think that when a scare is done with the use of the actual, like, what's happening in the movie narratively, as opposed to just being, abrupt cuts, I prefer those kinds of scares, and I think that was just a really great example of one that was well done.
Okay. Dan, I mean, there weren't too many, major scenes or set pieces in this movie given its time frame. Would you say that was probably your favorite scene as well with Jason, or did you have a different one?
My favorite scene, it was a little different. Mine was when Lee goes down to the basement. She sees Grimes for the first time, the janitor. His mop is in the bucket, and he pulls the mop out, and it's Jason's head. I was not expecting that. I mean, that sort of was kind of cranked it up to the next level quicker than I thought was going to happen.
It was visceral.
Yeah. Of course, I knew stuff was going to happen, obviously, but I just wasn't expecting that. And that, I love that part. That was my favorite scene, hands down.
No, that was a garish scene for sure. I actually, and this is my thing. So I guess my favorite scene, because it was also kind of the scariest one to me, was with all the pictures whispering. So Lee is hiding behind the bed, and then, the pictures are whispering to Mary Wallace, like, she's hiding and all that stuff. So there are certain beliefs, and, I've heard this kind of mythology and tale told, in my kind of supernatural circles that, pictures, right? Like, you're not supposed to have too many pictures up because the eyes, because, the whole saying, the eyes are the windows to the soul. Like in some houses that you might go into, like, you won't see a lot of pictures of people's faces hung up because of that same reason. There are certain superstitious circles that believe that. So I thought it was creepy, because there was one part where the pictures, like you said, Dan, they showed some really demented things. And I don't know, like that, and the pictures whispering and betraying her secret. That to me was really cool. I thought that was really cool. But, we must take the good as we have with the bad, which we're going to bring now. So any major criticisms for this one? Dan, I'll go with you.
It's sort of a minor criticism for me. Watching through the movie, we don't really know why these two people are in the house. It doesn't really make too big of an impact, except I would say at the beginning. Because Jason, when he wakes up, he has a camera, and he's sort of intent on taking pictures of Mary Wallace. And I didn't really understand why. And then when I read the description of the movie, it turns out that Jason and Lee are actually paranormal investigators. So that's why they're there. Having known that, now I'm like, okay, that makes sense why Jason would be trying to take pictures instead of getting the fuck out of the house. So maybe showing that through the movie a little bit more. It's not a big deal to me because, like I said, I think that's one of the few parts of the movie that it actually impacts. But I think it would help explain some of the actions that the characters take throughout the film.
Okay. Nico, any criticisms from your end?
So I have just one, and it's very small, but very, very funny, I thought. When I was writing my notes as I was watching this, I wrote to myself, so does this horror short operate on video game logic? Like, hiding in a closet right in front of the enemy is suddenly kosher? Like, oh fuck, he went into a door right in front of me. Where could he have gone? Tartar sauce. I just can't catch these guys. Like, that always just makes me laugh whenever that particular aspect of horror culture appears in other media.
I didn't even think about that, but you're right, because there's like not
there
much
was
else
nothing else in the room.
Yeah, that is fairly true. I guess my criticism is that I understand why they did it. I almost feel like I would have wanted Jason to last a little longer in the movie. Maybe survive one encounter or something like that, because Lee just, Grimes attacks her and then just leaves her alone. He's just like, nah, I was just fucking with you. So
do you think Grimes actually exists? Or is this a Fight Club type thing that's going on there. Because we haven't talked about the scene where they're in combat, but Grimes isn't there. And then we blink and he is.
Yeah, you're right. That's something we haven't really talked about. I don't think he's there. I think that's part of the haunting of it. I think he's more of like a ghost kind of thing, as well as Mary Wallace in the paintings as well.
So I think Dan is right. I think that was just meant to show the haunting aspect of it. But I don't know. I would have liked a little more Jason in the movie, personally. But also, and I have to say this again, the very end where the ghost kind of falls down or kind of comes down near the bed, they could have maybe done that a little bit different, in my opinion. So now let's go ahead and get to what would we do? So let's go ahead. So, don't open that door. We start, moonlighting as paranormal investigators and researchers. We go into this house and we're knocked unconscious and then we all wake up separate from one another. What would you do?
Probably shit my pants.
Yeah.
Oh, you would shit your pants too?
Probably.
Hell yeah.
I would not follow a clock that's telling me to go to the basement.
Yeah,
no,
the
probably
fuck?
not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
That is some Silent Hill shit. You do not listen to that. No.
I would also try to get out of the house. And this is going to be breaking this is a cop-out answer, but fuck being a paranormal investigator. I would not be in that house.
Oh, my fucking man.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say that also fuck being a paranormal investigator. That's like being a great white shark investigator and then feeling sad when you get eaten by a shark. Like, no, dog, you went looking for the shark, right? You found it. So same thing. But what I would do is this. I would get out of the house and then try contacting you guys. I'd be like, Dan, Nico, I'm outside, just waiting for you in the car. Yeah. Like I would wait for you guys in the car, to be real. Because here's the thing. I feel like they spent too much time exploring. Why are you exploring? Well, Jason wasn't. He just got killed. But Lee was out here exploring and looking for Jason. Like, no, she was actually on the medium, like not the medium floor, the ground floor. Just leave. Come back with help. Like, I'm not staying in this house with these ghosts. Like, that's what people don't understand, man. Being in a house with ghosts is not cool, as you know, Dan. So, Nico, I'm going to assume that you are going to copy pasta our answers here and you're not part of this
Actually,
paranormal
no.
bullshittery.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be part of that nonsense to begin with. Yes, that is correct. But no, if I was in there, I'll tell you what the fuck I would do. I would kick the shit out of Mary Wallace with her dumb-looking 2 sets of teeth, having ass you be in the closet. I would shove her in that closet and then burn that bitch down. Whoa. And Grimes over here, just like trip that tubby fucker. Like, juke him out. You're so good. And then dip out a window and you're fine.
All right, so Nico is going to channel his inner Alice from Resident Evil. And
you're goddamn right. I'm going to shishi Renton their dumbasses.
Hit him with the 9-fold palm technique. But no, so...
And then I will warp through space and time to get you fuckers out of there. I will use my God mode powers to get you two out of that house.
Thanks.
Thank you. But now we're going to come to the... we got to judge. We got to make a judgment here. So looking on IMDb, this movie has a 6.9 out of 10, but we got it out of 100. So we're going to give it's got a 69 out of 100. Where would you guys put this movie? I'm going to go ahead and start with our leader, Dan. Dan, go ahead.
Christ.
I would put it at a 78.
Okay. It. Damn, that's pretty high.
Yeah,
it's pretty high.
Pretty
okay.
high.
Nico, where would you place this movie?
You can't just tell me something is scored at 69 and ask me to do different. That's cruel. I would give it like a 73 to 7. No, I would give it a 75. I really like the presentation of it on the whole. There were just a couple of things that didn't really fit the tone for me.
So me personally, after a lot of thinking, I'd give it like a 72. And that is by no means a bad score. It is good. It is good. I just think that... And again, I almost feel like it's kind of, weighted against it. I think something that short, just for me personally, in order for it to get a really, really high score, like up in the 80s or 90s, would have to do something that just really, really touched me. And this movie didn't quite do that. So that's why I gave it the score I did. And, the plot also wasn't anything that was rewriting, something incredibly different here. This was not by the numbers, because I wouldn't insult it like that, but
certainly not.
I don't think it was, like crazy innovative or anything of the sort. but it is a solid, standard, very enjoyable, in my opinion, indie horror short. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way now. Would you recommend this to a friend, Nico?
Yeah, I think it's fun. And considering that there's a lot of schlock in the horror shorts library that we have in 2020, this one's nice. It's nice. I would recommend it.
I would also recommend this to a friend. I think it's a very solid watch. I liked it. Dan?
I like it. I would recommend it.
Does this get the golden seal of approval? Nico?
If it had like 5 more minutes of content and really went into the lore, then maybe. But as it stands right now, just a regular recommendation from me, boss.
Okay. Dan, would you have given it?
Not quite. It was great, but I don't think it quite gets up there.
Neither would I. But I think we all maintain this is a solid film.
Yes.
Definitely.
So that is our review of The Haunting of Pottersfield. Now, don't leave. Stick around. We have another review coming up in just a second. But guys, we actually have a commercial for a radio show.
A radio show?
Ooh.
Yeah. Let's take a listen real quick. This autumn, get ready for the most bone-chilling radio show you've ever heard.
Yes, who is it?
I hear you got a problem with werewolves.
Experience chills.
I think I hear the dog outside.
No, mate, the dog is inside.
Feel the terror.
Fuck me, I'm out of silver bullets.
They're at the back door.
Live the nightmare.
Mate, what's wrong?
I'm changing.
In the wolfening rondo of silver bullets. And we're back. So yeah, guys, make sure to check out that radio show if you get a chance. But yeah, we're here with our second movie now, and now we're going to be reviewing It Came Nameless in Spring. So this short was written and directed by Brian F. Otting, and it has Megan Maddox as Kat, Corey Rieger as Michael, and Caitlin Brooke, who plays the woman in the house. I'm not quite sure what her name is. But we open with Michael in it looks like almost like a dystopian city, or a city at least under some kind of siege. And what's he doing, Dan? What do we see him doing?
Yeah, so I can't remember if he's either running after, running away from, or being chased by, well, I guess the same thing. Whether he's running away or chasing a man who is trying to grab his food. So he fights off this guy, and in the background we hear a lot of gunfire and police sirens and all sorts of kind of stuff going on. So Michael ends up stabbing this man, and he takes the man's gun and then goes back home to his wife.
Right. So we then learn that there's this unknown entity called It, or supposedly just something else, I haven't really given it a name yet, has been taking women and killing men. We learn this as Kat and Michael discuss, the events that have happened thus far, and they're sort of like just getting materials, and Kat asks, where'd you get the gun? But Kat declares that it is not taking them. Not on my watch. Or
Yeah.
her watch, I guess.
The next day, Michael awakens to Kat. She's practicing using the gun, but then comes the unfortunate part because Michael falls ill. And I guess we're kind of led to believe he's got the same kind of sickness that every other guy has gotten. Maybe there's a possibility it could be something more mundane, but I don't think so. Either way, Kat goes out for supplies. And Dan, what happens to her?
Yeah, so as she's looking for supplies, she breaks into a house and is digging through the medicine cabinet, getting all this stuff. And turns out the house is occupied and there's a woman there. So they end up struggling. They fight for a little while. Kat ends up knocking her out. And then she heads back home to give the medicine back to her husband. And as she's leaving, we sort of see in the sky some giant sort of tentacle or claw or something. I mean, huge, incredibly huge thing in the sky. We just catch a little glimpse of it in the corner.
Okay, Nico, so when she goes back home, what does she discover?
She discovers that Michael surprised her with a little pasture of ponies and everything. No, Michael's dead. So Kat bids farewell to her husband and heads in the city. We got a real poignant scene where she's whimpering to herself and saying, like, you were the love of my life. And it was just really, really sad. And our last final shot is Kat walking towards the sort of like the heart of the city, where we have this cloud of writhing tentacles and storms. And it just looks fucking cool.
Yeah, it's like a giant abomination type deal. So let's go ahead and I guess let's break this down here. So first, let's start with the visuals. Nico, how'd you like this movie in terms of the visuals?
I'll be honest, I didn't think that they were that really noticeable just because it was made, with the exception of the abomination at the end. Like, it was just a well shot and well done movie. I did have one criticism on the visuals. There's one particular shot at the 6-minute mark. The shot lingers on an empty door frame for way too long, and this is during the breaking and entering scene before they're fighting. The camera just focuses way too much on the empty door frame for no real purpose or setup, and I thought that was a strange choice to take. But the rest of it, like the color grading was really nice, the lighting was really nice, and it just looked very professionally made.
Okay, Dan, do you echo those thoughts?
I mean, I liked it overall. I think a lot of the film had sort of a faded feel to it. And I thought that was really cool because I think it lent itself to sort of the dystopian, sort of post-apocalyptic, not quite, but close to that kind of feel. So yeah, I mean, I thought the visuals were great.
Okay, I actually agree. Nico, I didn't quite pick up on what you were talking about, the lingering on the door frame. I probably have to go back and double check that piece.
Sure.
But overall, I liked the visuals. I also, one thing I sincerely liked with the visuals and the audio, because we can talk about that as well. I liked the fact that not everything had to be said. There was a lot you could pick up from context clues, from just looking at the set design, also just from listening in the background. Kind of like we said in the plot summary, you could hear, the gunshots in the background, the police sirens. Also in the intro, there is a message spray painted on a wall saying to hide.
Yeah, I liked that.
That's something else as well. So Dan, audio, what were your thoughts?
There's a lot of drones in this.
My God.
I think the entire soundtrack is just drones, which I have mixed feelings about, because on one hand, I like it quite a bit because it really sets the tone. I think both the visuals and audio, I really like how they approach it, because it seems like they said, here's the idea for our film, and they used the camera angles, the color grading, all that kind of stuff, and the score to reflect that. And I think that should be the job of the music supervisor and the cinematographer, is to help progress the idea of the film. And I think the drones really did a good job of that. On the flip side, I do kind of think there was too much drone. And
Agreed.
After a while, I was just like, all right, I get it. Like, I would like a little bit of change here. So I'm kind of two minds on it. But yes, lots of drones.
Okay, Nico, what were your thoughts on the audio? Do you agree with what Dan said?
I echo his thoughts 100%. I thought that the composition of the music was, it was decent. It was nice. And like the timbre of the instruments, the overall sound, it worked. It didn't sound fake. It sounded very like well recorded and real, but my fucking lord, does the droning go on. And like, for context, I listen to shit like, Meshuggah or doom metal and stuff, and like, I don't know. It seemed a little bit just lackadaisical at some parts where it's still fucking going.
So I probably am on the flip side where I liked the drones. I do think there were some moments where, there weren't drones, I think. I agree a large portion of the movie was drones.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't mind it so much. I think if it had been maybe, because I believe the film in this case was roughly 12 or so minutes long. Mm-hmm. If it had been maybe 20 minutes of nothing but drones, I might have, had a different opinion.
That's fair.
This just kind of hit the line for me where I was like, I could take it. So let's now go ahead and swap gears a little bit and let's talk genre. Because Nico, you had kind of a hot take when we talked about this before we started recording. Mm-hmm. So you wanted to talk about the genre, and you questioned if this is horror. Why don't you go ahead and speak your piece here?
Yeah, so this is penned as a sci-fi horror piece, and I don't think it's horror in the slightest. I think it is 100% a sci-fi drama piece. They're just the way that everything is shot, the way that we're attached to the characters and introduced to the setting of the world as this sort of like dystopian apocalypse type thing. Like, in particular, the fight scene between the woman in the house and Kat, it's the horror of that scene just doesn't work for me, and I think in general, because we sympathize with both of the people there. And like, I get that this is something where if you were in the situation, it could be scary, but this did not come off as an actual piece of horror in the slightest to me.
Well, Dan, do you have anything to say in response? Because I'm still putting on my armor.
Yeah, I do think it's horror. I think in if you guys haven't listened to this episode, you should check it out because we have a bonus episode where we talk about what is horror to us. And I mean, one thing for horror to me is an impending sense of dread. And I think that is underlying in the film. And I think we've got sort of two antagonists. We've got the big scary creature in the sky as well as humans. And our own, we've turned against our own people. And I think that if we take this movie, the short film, and put it in a different medium like a video game, this would be a survival horror video game. This is The Last of Us.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
no, it would be. You're right. But that's not what it is, though.
I mean, that's
not to
true.
get existential on you.
No, you're right. I mean, it's not a video game, but I think a lot of the same concepts kind of apply. I mean,
they do.
Sort of the sense of unknown, dread. I mean, I think the soundtrack lends itself very well to a horror film. And I just think the survival aspect of it is sort of horror. Now, is it like scary? No. But I do think it falls, to me, within the realm of horror.
I would also agree that for me, this also does fall within the realm of horror. I think, just the fact that there is a disease that is literally wiping out half the population, the other half is being literally kidnapped or disappeared. That's scary. I think, the lingering kind of shot of the big tentacle that we see when Kat leaves the house after her fight. When I saw that for the first time, I was like, oh, snap. Like, what's that? And I also think, in general, this has the feel of something that, because as you know, for example, in zombie horror, one big threat a lot of the time is other people.
Certainly.
And, in this horror, the arrival of that thing, whatever it is, has thrown this city into chaos. And she even says, we're trapped. We can't get out.
Right.
And, I feel like there's enough of like a backstory of horror where I personally feel, I would consider that to be horror.
Well, that's your take.
So let's go ahead and take this in a different direction and talk about the fight scene. So I'm going to go ahead and lead this here. I fucking loved that fight scene.
Same.
Yes.
I thought, and you want to know what? Man, I wish I knew because I looked at this. I'm literally on IMDb as we speak. Caitlin Brooke is listed as the stunt coordinator. So she plays the woman that Kat fights in the house. And I can only assume that she did the fight scene too. Well fucking done. Well fucking done. From someone who has studied martial arts for like a long fucking time. That's me giving you a round of applause. Well fucking done. The fight scene was better than shit I've seen in literally big budget, big motion pictures. Well fucking done. And I can't say that enough because truthfully, they did not cut away from impact. I cannot tell you how much better that makes fight scenes.
Yeah.
Not cutting away from impact. From the start of the fight, Kat grabs a glass, like a drinking glass, and shatters it on the woman's head. And I was like, yo, they didn't cut away. I'm impressed. There's a cool drag scene where the woman drags Kat through the floor. The camera gets low so you can kind of see it from Kat's perspective. Like, that is awesome to me. What a great shot. And, even like the headlock that the woman puts Kat in, it looks believable. It doesn't look cheesy. It doesn't look fake. It doesn't look false. Like, well done. Well done. Like, that's all I can say. Nico, your thoughts? And if you have something against it, I'm going to contradict you, but what are your thoughts?
Well, I have a question for you, actually. So, and I've been waiting to ask you this entire time. I did love the fight scene, but is it realistic to expect at the end that Kat, when she's in this headlock that's lasted for something like, I don't know, like maybe 20 seconds or so, it feels very long. Is it realistic for her to like suddenly get that energy and ram both of them into a wall like that?
Yeah, that can happen.
Okay.
Because think about it like this, right? First off, she doesn't have, so the way the woman is applying that hold is from the side, right?
Okay.
And we can see that she's stretching her body upward. So I actually, if we're getting real down to the nitty gritty, I don't necessarily know if she had the best leverage to actually choke her out properly. Because the way that she's holding her, it's kind of like a side choke and it doesn't even look super, super effective. It looks really rough, which it's supposed to. But I could totally believe that is like a last ditch. Kat could summon up the energy to just like throw her body forward and ram that woman into the wall.
So yeah, I appreciate
I could totally
that.
believe that.
Yeah, that was literally my only like potential problem with it. But now that you've like explained that, I think it's genuinely one of the best fight scenes and one of the most intimate fight scenes I've ever seen. And I just love the end when she's staring down the barrel of the shotgun, trying to decide if she's going to give her the coup de grace or not. That was kind of harrowing.
Yeah. Dan, did you have anything to say about the fight scene?
I mean, I love it for everything you really talked about. I also think Nico said it very well. It's intimate. As weird as that sounds for a fight scene, it feels very real and very raw, sort of. And you know, they pick up, like you said, you know, smash a glass on somebody's head, and there's a lot of like just very real things that happen in the fight, and it doesn't
she stabs
feel
her
doctored.
with a pen.
Yeah,
A lot.
yeah, and it doesn't feel like it's been doctored up, and like it feels like I'm actually in a fight for real, and that I loved it.
I thought that was quite good. So let's go ahead now. Let's fight over our favorite scenes. So, Dan, what was your favorite scene?
I'm gonna have to say the fight scene. I mean,
Okay.
it might be a cop out.
I kind of thought you would. Nico, what's your favorite scene?
My favorite scene is also the fight scene.
Okay, so my favorite scene was the fight scene, but
All right.
but I will say another scene that I'm going to use my podcast powers here to vote for is the very end. I really like that scene where, you know, it's her narrating, you know, she's sitting here like, I'll love you, you know, you are the love of my life. And I think she says something to the extent of like, I'll love you till the end of time or something like that. And then she, you know, she loads up her gun and goes towards that city. And there's that big monster overhead. And I thought, yo, she's a badass. I was like, that scene is extremely badass to me. And, you know, in fact, and the crazy thing is when the husband is coming back from his outing, he actually kind of stumbles a little bit and he doesn't look so good. Like you can see he's getting sicker. And I thought it was cool that, you know, like she was like, I'm going to go out. And it was pretty clear that that was kind of like the first time that she really went out to go do that. So I thought that was really cool. That was really cool. You guys are right though. The fight scene was pretty fucking badass.
Yep.
Criticisms. Do we have any criticisms of this movie? Really? Really and truly?
I mean, insofar as I still don't think it's a horror movie, I could call that a criticism. But otherwise, like, I genuinely can't think of any that are outside of that specific context. Because when I look at how this film is, you know, created, presented, it's honestly done really fucking well, in my opinion. But like, I still just cannot view it as a horror movie. So exempting that, I have no criticisms.
Dan, do you feel any way about the drones enough to put them there?
Oh, fuck yeah, that.
That's kind of my only thing, and it's not a strong criticism because, like I said, I'm of two minds on it. That's really my only thing. I really like this one.
I also really like this one. In terms of criticisms, I mean, Dan, the drones, I barely would list that. Like really, and really that's so tiny. I enjoyed this quite a fucking bit. So let's go ahead now and cast our gaze over to IMDb, where this has been given a 6 out of 10. It's got a 6 out of 10 on IMDb, but we're just going to multiply by 10 so we can rate this one out of 100. So let's go ahead and start with you, Nico. I feel like you're not appreciated enough.
Wow, thank you.
Nah, I'm just fucking with you. Dan, what would you give this?
Oh, fuck me, I guess. Damn.
I would give it 87.
Oh,
Wow.
Yep, I said it.
Nico?
Just for the fight scene alone, I'm going to give this an 80. Like, that fight scene's so goddamn good and honestly makes up for, like, literally every problem I have with this.
I would actually give this, Dan, you gave that an 87, believe it or not. I actually would give it like an 83 or 84.
Really?
Yeah. I really liked this. So let's go ahead now and Let's pass that judgment. Would you recommend this to a friend? Dan?
Yes.
Yup. Nico?
Surprisingly, yes. Again, for that fight scene, because goddamn.
Justin? Yes, thank you, Justin. Thank you, Justin. So now we'll go ahead and say, does this get the golden seal of approval? Dan?
I say yes.
I say yes. Nico?
Is going to shoot it down by saying no. Sorry, Jen.
Yeah, I thought you would.
Yeah.
Would you be up, since we didn't give it that, would you be up to put this for diamond in the rough status?
Certainly, yeah. For the fight scene alone, like, that's just really fucking well done. Like, shout outs to the choreography there for sure.
Dan?
Yeah, 100%.
I would too. So there you go. Just narrowly missing out through the pure haterography of Nico. It did manage to receive the diamond in the rough status. So watch that shit, please. And does anyone else have any kind of, final thoughts they want to get across before we bring this one to a cease?
No.
I would get a bigger gun.
Yeah, that would help.
If you wanted to watch either of those movies that we talked about, they are both available on YouTube on the Alter channel. Again, that was The Haunting of Pottersfield and It Came Nameless in Spring. If you like what you've heard from us, you can go ahead and give us a follow on social media. We're at DOTD Horror on Instagram and Twitter. We're also on Facebook. Don't open that door. That's been it from the three of us. Again, we just want everyone to keep yourself safe. Have a great night, ladies and gents, and please don't open that door. Bye now.